Okay, welcome everyone to the third annual Converge Innovation Showcase. We're so excited to have you all here. This is the third year of the Converge program, but the first time done virtually. My name is Zahabia Nuruddin, and I was part of the Converge program last summer in 2019, and that gave me the opportunity to help grow my initiative, Open Dialogue, in which we create a platform for people to share their perspectives on controversial issues. And throughout the day, we will be utilizing closed captioning. So a little bit about Converge. So during the last 8 weeks, students developed valuable entrepreneurship skills through a series of workshops, and they really identified and solved real-world challenges with different partnerships across local civic organizations. And now today you'll hear their early stage startup ideas. So we're super excited to share that with you all. First off, I'd like to introduce Vice Chancellor for Research, Sandra Brown, to the virtual stage.
Well, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Brown. As you just heard, the Vice Chancellor for Research here at UC San Diego. And I really want to thank you for joining us this afternoon for what I think will be a really exciting, inspiring showcase of student innovation and ingenuity. Research Affairs is committed to providing students with experiential learning opportunities to help develop the skills that you will need to be successful in the job market. We're committed in particular to engagement and community outreach. And this Converge Civic Challenges Showcase brings these two things together in a unique way. For students to work on real-world civic challenges that we're actually facing. These challenges are provided by the City of San Diego, the San Diego International Airport, SANDAG, Caterva, Miller Hull, and the San Diego Green Building Council. So a really exciting way to be able to see what real world challenges are and get your feet wet in that process. I would like to thank Paul Robin and his team, the Basement and the Blackstone Launchpad for their work in managing such an excellent student-focused program. And a special thanks to all of the mentors and the facilitators who supported this program over the course of the last 8 weeks. It really shows what great things can happen when a group of committed individuals come together to support student innovation. And finally, I want to congratulate all of the students who participated in and completed the summer program. I hope you found the experience to be worth sacrificing this COVID summer time. For some of you, maybe a vacation time, but nonetheless, we really look forward to hearing your ideas. This is a challenging time to be facing to try to do this sort of thing, to address some challenges in the middle of the COVID pandemic. So I'm excited to hear about your outcomes. And now let me introduce another champion of our experiential learning here at UC San Diego, our Executive Vice Chancellor, Elizabeth Simmons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Brown. It's really a great pleasure to join you here today in welcoming everybody to the Basement's third annual Converge Summer Innovation Showcase. This event is a very exciting opportunity for participants to network with other entrepreneur-minded community members and to celebrate student innovation. Now, this is a special year for the program, not only for the obvious reason that it was achieved virtually, but also, and I think more importantly, because it was the first year partnering with local civic organizations. With help from community partners, the Converge Summer Program supports the growth of student startups and social innovation ventures that become the fabric of our community, inspiring a broader culture of ingenuity and impact for social good. It allows our students to develop tangible connections to real-world problems, as Vice Chancellor Brown mentioned, and to tackle some major challenges that are presently facing our community. But the students participating in the program are not only designing novel solutions, they're also developing innovation and entrepreneurial skill sets that are going to continue serving them in the future, wherever that future may take them. And that's really something very tangible that they will take with them long after they've graduated and started on their exciting careers. UC San Diego is committed to providing students with these types of high impact opportunities alongside the more formal academic curricula. And we find that students who invest some time in these kinds of experiential learning opportunities tend to understand better why they need the formal piece as well and how the formal piece fits into their long-term plans. So it's really an honor to represent campus leadership in celebrating the spirit of innovation and public service that's at the core of our Triton DNA. Thank you to all of our guests for joining us today, and a special thanks to our community sponsors for making this program possible.
Thank you so much, Sandra Brown and Elizabeth Simmons, for sharing your thoughts and being here today. I would like to bring up our Civic Challenge partners. This year we partnered with civic agencies to partner challenges specific to the San Diego region. They include the City of San Diego, SANDAG, San Diego International Airport, Miller Hall, Caterva, and the San Diego Green Building Council. Now I'd like to introduce Rick Belliotti to the virtual stage, the Director of Innovation and Customer Experience Design at the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, to share a few words about their involvement with Converge.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you to UCSD for even having this program. I know for San Diego International Airport, this was a great experience for us, not only to have an opportunity to share some of the challenges that we experience, but also to have some innovative thought come in and really help look at opportunities for improving our passengers' experience. So as Director of Innovation and Customer Experience Design, one of the areas that I get to lead is our Airport Innovation Lab, which is really an accelerator, for lack of a better term, which helps the community and innovators understand the airport world. Airports, by and large, are run by government agencies, and they are in desperate need of innovation. And our program really helps connect the dots between something like UCSD's program here and an industry that is ripe for opportunity for innovation. I'm really proud of Neha, Neve, and Daniel of the work that they did and the solutions that they've come up with. I'm excited to see them present here. For us, one of the challenging areas that we continue to experience is really around inclusivity and thinking about how different people with different needs and mobility travel and how do we open up that experience. And that's really what the team focused in on and will be presenting to you here today. So a very short introduction, but thank you so much for everything that you've done. I'm really excited to see this final presentation. I think our team was the best. Sorry, guys, but they are an amazing team, and I'll hand it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Rick. So a little overview of today. We are going to start off with the 4 Civic Challenge teams. Each team will give their presentation live. The audience is encouraged to ask their questions using the question and answer feature. We encourage you to submit your questions earlier on, and the selected questions will be addressed live. And if there are any additional questions or the questions aren't answered live, feel free to contact the team. The information will be shared at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first team, MMP.
Hello. Okay. We are Team MP, which stands for Municipal Microgrid Planning. My name is Charlie Tran, and I'm a fourth-year student at UCSD with a major in data science.
Hi everyone, I'm Catherine. I'm also a fourth year at UCSD with a major in cognitive science.
And hi, I'm Tanvi. I'm a second year student at UCSD majoring in international business.
We worked alongside Dr. Mark Weiss as our mentor, and our main point of contact was Lindsay Halls, James Chen, and Doran Aviati. So our team was tasked by the City of San Diego, where the City of San Diego's building portfolio presents significant opportunities to reduce carbon pollution and minimize the city's contribution to the climate crisis. They plan to eliminate half of all greenhouse gas emissions by 2035. To meet this goal, the city has taken action to identify and implement clean energy projects, one of them being municipal microgrids, which they want to utilize to reduce energy costs and promote sustainable energy. And now let me explain what a microgrid is. A microgrid, there are two main functions of a microgrid. The first being supplying sustainable energy 99% of the time. The other being that it can disconnect from the grid and work autonomously. As you can see in the GIF to the right, a storm cuts the power lines and the building's still able to function due to the microgrid control system. Another example would be the microgrid on UCSD, which supplies about 80 to 90% of UCSD's electricity.
As for the opportunity, right now the City of San Diego has no single building microgrids. So that is where we come in and establish a methodology for identifying ideal municipal microgrid locations.
The City of San Diego specifically tasked us with focusing on single building microgrids. In order to come up with the best, most effective solution, we interviewed as many relevant experts as we could find. This group includes microgrid contractors, infrastructure development experts, city officials in the municipal energy department, former firefighters, members of the SCHIP incentive program, and renewable experts. All members of this group fall into three categories: those who build, those who regulate, and those who benefit from microgrids. The one thing we were advised to constantly keep in mind is that microgrids are about improving community resilience. And in that way, resiliency had to be the core of our entire project. Resiliency is defined by the capacity to recover from and continue operating even when the central grid is unable to operate. Based on our own research and expert feedback, we decided that a website which considers all possible benefits of microgrids would best accomplish our task. A quick note: our solution, which is explored in the next few slides, can be modified to adapt to any building owner's need. We just focused ours to align with the City of San Diego's goals specifically.
Now I'm going to talk about all the different criteria that we consider for our final solution. So the first criteria is site appropriateness, and this is looking if the site is viable for microgrid implementation. So if there's enough space for a microgrid, the solar panels, and battery storage. The next criteria is really important. It's cost analysis, and this is analyzing how much money can the microgrid help save for this specific site. The third one is GHG reduction, which is also really important because it directly aligns with the City of San Diego's goals. And this is analyzing how much carbon emissions can the microgrid help reduce. The fourth one is resilience value. This is looking at the service that operates at the site and if it needs to operate during times of emergency, such as fire stations, police stations, hospitals, and more. And then the last one is community impact. This is looking at the community that the site is located in and the resources it has access to. For example, if a community is more disadvantaged, then it would receive a higher priority score for a microgrid. As for our deliverables, we mentioned that our main vision is a website that calculates a score for a site. We decided that we had these deliverables to give to the City of San Diego so that they could implement the solution. The first deliverable is a spreadsheet that directly calculates the score using the equation we created and has about 30 sample sites. The second deliverable is a website prototype that demonstrates the user flow. I'm now going to run us through the website prototype. So in the website, you could first input the site's information. This will include the name of the site, the address, the site appropriateness, the bill, the type of site it is and its demand, and much more. Once you input all this information, the website will be able to calculate a priority score. After the score is calculated, the user could quickly see a score breakdown to see the details of how different parts of the score were calculated and also see other factors that should be considered when looking to install a microgrid. And then the last part of the prototype is that you could compare multiple sites at once. As you can see here on the screen, there are multiple sites, and you can also quickly see the score breakdown so that you could compare sites to one another when you are looking to where to install a microgrid.
The first few weeks of our timeline mainly involved researching and interviewing different experts like we mentioned earlier. After many drafts of different criteria, we eventually finalized our criteria because we wanted to focus on one that met the city's needs, and then began implementing our ranking system on different sites. We compiled a spreadsheet and developed a website prototype for an efficient and transparent solution. In the next few weeks, we'll be working on having the City of San Diego use our spreadsheet and ultimately implementing the website.
Perfect, thank you. So one question we have is, what is one thing that you learned from this experience?
I can answer this one. We were talking about this earlier, that probably the biggest thing we learned about was like the functionality of a municipal microgrid. There was like a large learning curve coming in because none of us knew anything about microgrids. So a lot of our like research and interviews was like largely focused on just the three of us overcoming that learning curve to really figure out what microgrids do and how we can ultimately like utilize them to help reach the City of San Diego's goals. So I would say that that is probably our biggest thing that we learned.
Perfect, thank you so much. Next, we'll have Novel Team present.
So hello, we are the Novel Team. Our group spent 8 weeks doing research for a civic challenge relating to novel building materials for red list materials. A special thanks to Miller Hole, Caterva, the San Diego Green Building Council, and Blackstone Launchpad. My name is Persephone Rodriguez. I'm an incoming third year at UCSD, and my major is cognitive science machine learning.
My name is Prem Shalat. I'm also third year, and my major is computer engineering.
And my name is Stephen Sui. I'm also a third year, and my major is chemical engineering.
So let's jump into the background of the issue. Since the population is rapidly increasing, this means that many buildings have to be built in return. It is estimated that by 2060, 2.48 trillion square feet of new floor area will be added to the global building stock, leaving 2/3 of the expected population to live in cities. This is a major issue considering that many buildings are still being built with very harmful red list materials that are causing harm to both humans and the environment, and especially causing high levels of indoor air pollution today. The graph on the screen represents the expected urban world population growth by 2050. So what are red list materials? Red list materials are very harmful and toxic materials listed by the International Living Future Institute. They pollute the environment, are harmful to everyone, but especially construction workers whom are heavily exposed daily. And they cause bioaccumulation of toxic chemicals in the environment. So although there are hundreds of red list materials, we decided to only focus on lead, PVC, and halogenyl flame retardants, since they are some of the worst red list materials used in buildings. As you can see by the statistics on screen, 40 million tons of PVC are produced per year. Up to 30% of the weight of furniture is HFRs, and up to 8% of the weight of pipes is lead. As explained previously, this is a major issue, so we have dedicated our research to finding safe alternatives to these 3 red list materials.
As mentioned, we want to identify alternatives to these harmful materials, and we'll do so using 3 main criteria. The first will be human health impact, followed by embodied carbon, and lastly, performance. So the first criteria, health. This refers to materials that pose health hazards for humans. This can be due to continuous exposure or ingestion of these dangerous substances. Next, we have embodied carbon. We want to ensure that the carbon footprint of the alternative is minimal. Factors to be considered here are the manufacturing process, distribution along the supply chain, as well as recyclability. And lastly, we have the performance criteria. Questions we want to ask are, will it perform just as well or better than the red list material? Is this material durable? Does it abide by building codes? So here we have a simple chart displaying the red list materials, their alternatives, as well as the criteria I described. This is a very simple chart to depict the research that we've done. However, we've collected a lot more data, which can be found in our report. Our minimal viable product is the list of alternatives, as well as the criteria that's utilized to determine them. So the end goal is to distribute this list of alternatives to major stakeholders within the industry so that they are more aware of these materials and can incorporate them within future projects. Here we have potential stakeholders listed below.
So now on to customer discovery. So throughout the process, we interviewed multiple people, and the most common word that we have heard of is cost. Because when switching to an alternative and usually environmentally friendly material, there's usually an associated premium cost that you have to pay for. And this is what usually deters most people from buying an alternative material as opposed to a redless material. But there are also some less obvious things to consider. The cautionary principle is when you vet a material and you have extensive research on it before you implement it into a building. And transparency refers to how manufacturers reveal how they process a material, along with what ingredients or chemicals they use to produce a particular material. We also want to consider the lifetimes of these materials. How long does the material last? How easy it is to maintain or replace? And we also have to consider the fact that chemical industries are constantly lobbying to put these chemicals back, mainly because these redless materials are familiar to them and are cheaper to them in the long run. So our vision for this year is to look at other redless materials outside of lead, halogenated flame retardants, and PVC, and figure out their purpose in the building. Once we identify their purpose, then we will figure out through online research the material information and how well they perform in the home or any other industrial building. We also want to consider the initial cost of these materials, since they tend to fluctuate from year to year, and realize that these short-term costs are usually burdened by the homeowners or companies. We also want to consider the other characteristics in our next steps, such as life cycles. How long would the long-term costs last? How much will occupants have to pay for in terms of their health and funding? Where can we source these materials? As after all, transportation is part of the embodied carbon. And also realize how satisfied customers will be when they know that they were switching to an alternative, healthier material. So in terms of our next steps, we hope to perform more research with other customers and do more interviewing, expand our database to accommodate for more materials, and also expand our team so that we can cover more materials more efficiently. And we'd like to give special thanks to these wonderful people who have helped us along this entire project. And we are now open for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. So I'll wait a few moments if anyone wants to add any questions on the Q&A feature. Okay, we have one question. So what pathways do you have in mind for barrier to entry and existing competition with the traditional materials?
I can answer that. Now, alternative materials, such as, I think one thing we mentioned is bioattributed PVC, in which you use biomass to create a material that's just like PVC, is undergoing recent research. In fact, I think the research we had here is that bioplastic is just being developed this year. So that's a significant barrier to entry because you need to have extensive research and development, and you have to vet the material, make sure it's working in an actual building before you can use it in a wide scale performance.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Novel Team. Now I'd like to introduce Rush Hour.
Awesome. Hi there. I'm Daniel Vasquez with my teammate Callie Supa, and we are Team Rush Hour. Through our participation in the Converge Incubator, we were partnered with SANDAG and MTS to understand the impact COVID-19 had on public transportation. Before we move forward, a little bit about us. I'm Daniel Vasquez, a fifth-year physics major.
And I am Callie Supa, a fourth-year communications major. So a little bit more about SANDAG and our journey. So you might recognize SANDAG as the association of governments that is responsible for the new trolley being built near Pepper Canyon. So they are tasked with reaching statewide sustainability goals of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by planning multimodal transportation for San Diego County, and ideally reducing the use of personal vehicles that impact the environment. So these pictures are from their original 2021 regional plan. But with the pandemic, SANDAG was forced to re-examine their plan and see if their future investments were worth the new age of social distancing and a decrease in 70% of ridership. So we came onto this challenge in order to better understand how COVID has impacted the values and opinions of public transportation. And as a team, we decided to use UCSD as a case study.
So when we first began our research, we broke up the UCSD population into broad categories, such as undergraduate students, graduate students, staff, and faculty. Our initial hypothesis is that individuals in these groups all relate to public transportation differently due to differences in age, education level, and economic standing. From there, we reached out to 20 individuals within these user groups for an interview. And in these interviews, we asked questions ranging from how they previously used public transportation to how they currently use public transportation during the pandemic, and how they see themselves using public transportation in the future, with an emphasis on the new trolley coming to campus. From this information, we found patterns that transcended our initial groupings. We saw that graduates, although more likely to live outside of La Jolla, still view and use public transportation very similarly to how other groups view and use public transportation. To put this into context, regardless of the groupings, many individuals express fear of public spaces. And during COVID in particular, when asked, what would make you feel comfortable using public transportation again? Many individuals brought up concerns of sanitation, physical distancing, mask enforcement, air ventilation, seating material concerns, regardless if they were undergrad, graduate, or staff member.
So from those findings, we'd like to share a few key insights that we got from our research. So starting off with the general concerns, we saw that security was very prevalent in female participants that we interviewed. They expressed caution that using transit vehicles at night or by themselves would not be as safe. And this reveals an important shift in focus when compared to the security concerns that were already on SANDAG's radar, especially with female college students. So in particular to COVID, and also according to the findings that we have, we found that all of those ideas of sanitation, mask enforcement, social distancing, MTS is already working to address those concerns, but really what's happening there is a lack of knowledge. So riders are unaware of sanitation practices and how frequently they take place. And lastly, with the trolley, we found that it would provide better access to downtown, but this is also increasingly important because it gives access to communities who normally don't have transportation. And we found an express willingness to change their car driving habits, but there was still the notion of COVID and fear there. So going into our recommendations and addressing the lack of knowledge of how they are cleaning the buses, we found that increasing communication between MTS and their riders will benefit the public perception of public transportation, so that way passengers feel more informed about cleaning procedures and therefore more comfortable riding transit. This can be done by various marketing efforts on social media that is targeted to students who are more likely to change their practices, and increasing posters and signage in and around buses. Also, to address the lack of knowledge of when they are cleaning, we think that increasing sanitation transparency and frequency of sanitation is going to help increase sanitation throughout the day so that people can see when it's going on. Because they hear, oh, the buses are being cleaned, but actually seeing it is going to confirm those ideas. And this could look like an onboard attendant or someone who disinfects at different stops, and ultimately giving power to the rider also by providing hand sanitizers at bus stops.
Taken all together, we would like to stress that we don't see a return to normal happening anytime soon. The UCSD population has no reason to commute to campus and are mostly in a position to avoid public transportation altogether. But there is a silver lining in all this. Our research shows many people did not change their opinion on public transportation, and there is even a willingness to return to public transportation should the situation improve. Thus, we urge MTS and SANDAG to take advantage of this opportunity. Should they augment sanitation measures, enforce safety measures, and improve communication channels, they can rebuild and even strengthen trust between rider and system. Even if people aren't currently using public transportation, if they see that the system values their health and safety, they will reciprocate that with trust. And in due time, we see trust turning into ridership. Quick thank you to our contacts at SANDAG for allowing us to work on this fascinating problem and the many mentors that helped us on our journey.
And the Converge Incubator Program. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. I'll wait a moment for anyone to put their questions in the question and answer feature. Okay, we have one. So if you could do this program, okay, here. Were schedules or routes factored into your analysis?
I can take this one. So with our research, what we really focused on is the qualitative data of getting our customer discovery and really tapping into the everyday experiences of the riders who are either currently using transportation or have used it in the past, or even people who did not use it altogether. So we didn't necessarily focus on routes, but we did hear the storytelling of different routes from our users and what that was like day to day for them.
Thank you. We have one other question if you want to answer it real quick. Are there any suggestions SANDAG is interested in implementing?
I can answer this one, or Daniel, you want to take it?
I think SANDAG in particular has the opportunity to, because I feel most college students lack the knowledge of what SANDAG actually does. I think we see it around campus, you know, when they built the Gilman Bridge or the recent trolley extension. So I think SANDAG can take the opportunity to reach out to a lot of these students and really tap into the wealth of knowledge that these students provide. Because organizations like the Converge Incubator are not like unique and rare in the sense that we have students kind of working towards a broader problem. So if they tap into, you know, the knowledge that is available at UCSD, I think they could, you know, take advantage of some of the solutions that they come up with.
Thank you so much, Rush Hour. Now I'd like to introduce Flyability.
Hi everyone, we're Team Flyability, and today we're going to talk about improving accessibility. Specifically, improving the experience of people with disabilities at San Diego International Airport. My name is Neha, and Neve, my teammate, will also be presenting with me today. We have a third teammate, Dennis, who also worked with us alongside on this project. I'd like to begin by talking about airports. Airports are really a gateway to a community. They're the first thing we see when we enter a new place or are about to go on a new experience, and they're very exciting. However, not everyone is able to experience this excitement. When we began this project, we interviewed a blind passenger who frequently travels out of San Diego International Airport. He mentioned to us that he does not go to restaurants or use terminal vendors simply because he does not know what's around him. This really impacted us and the scope of our project, as this very exciting component of the airport journey, the magic of the airport terminal and the unique feel that it brings, was completely lost on him.
And it's estimated that about 20% of Americans have some sort of disability. And yet, in 2018, almost 37,000 complaints were filed against airlines in the US for accessibility. And so clearly, accessibility presents some issues and challenges to the travel industry. And I just want to note that this number was likely widely underreported just because of the complexity of the process of filing a complaint in the first place. So this is what we were looking at this summer. So for the last 8 weeks, we focused primarily on research just because there hasn't really been a group that has done this specifically to accessibility for the San Diego International Airport. So for the last 8 weeks, we did a large variety of interviews of relevant stakeholders, including airport and airline staff, passengers with disabilities, family members, and relevant experts. We also observed the airport, conducted a literature review, and we created a survey that was primarily just to establish a point of communication between the airport, us, and passengers with disabilities.
This process really helped us understand a lot of the issues that the airport faces through the lens of communication problems. Now, the airport is a highly fragmented and complicated ecosystem, with the airlines containing a very distinct responsibility compared to that of airports. And because airports have a different scope of practice when it comes to accessibility, we realize the most pressing challenges for airports are 1, understanding their customer, and 2, centralizing information for and about that customer. We found there are several interactions or touch points in which the airports can improve their ability to understand the customer and improve satisfaction. And this is where our solutions come in.
So in the end, we created a report that we're handing off to the airport. And this report not only outlined our insights and our process and research, but it also outlines a wide variety of solutions. And all of these solutions aim to move the airport towards an approach to accessibility that is more proactive than reactive. So these are the solutions that we focus most in on in this report. Some of them can be implemented now, and others are more likely to be implemented down the line because the technology might not exist yet, or it requires more planning and more resources. For today, we'll be just focusing on these 3 because they were the solutions that the airport expressed the most interest in. So first is the Equitable Access Committee, and this is essentially a program that will bring together all of the relevant stakeholders to consistently and frequently discuss accessibility. So this program could include airport and airline staff, management, operations, architects. It could potentially be open to the public. It could also include representation from disability advocacy and support groups. And most importantly, it would include people with disabilities. So some potential activities this committee could do include first auditing, just making sure that various parts of the airport are accessible in ways that might go beyond just regulations. Next is providing input on designs and construction plans. And lastly, doing usability tests of the website and other technologies to make sure that it's accessible.
As mentioned previously, airports need to understand all of their potential customers, and there's no better way to do this than through customer engagement. So the current system for grievance reporting is a little convoluted and frankly quite discouraging. In addition, there is no system as it stands for the airport to collect more general feedback from the customer. This could lead to an inefficient and unsatisfactory use of both time and money. So we have come up with a 3-tiered customer service system to improve engagement. The first aspect is accessibility feedback. And this is as simple as including a survey on the airport's website for the airport to gauge where they can focus on making things more equitable. Second, we would take inspiration from Changi Airport in Singapore and use AI to collect live data and provide the airport with real-time feedback about what areas need the most attention as customers flow through. And last, but certainly not least, is a customer service system. This would be a streamlined customer service system that centralizes customer feedback, much like what software companies do. It would also rank these complaints and feedback in order of increasing priority.
And lastly, we just want to thank everyone who made this project possible, including our mentor Heidi Halsey and Jacques and Christine, and all of the people who interviewed with us and shared their insights and their experience. And lastly, all of our partners at the San Diego International Airport, Rick, Kim, and Gina, who gave us this project and so much support and connected us with people who could give us relevant information. So thank you, and we're ready for questions.
Thank you so much. So I'll wait a few moments if you all want to write in your questions. They can answer them at this time. Okay, so we got one question. How were you able to conduct surveys on a group of passengers?
Okay, so what we did is we created a survey and then we sent it out to various groups in San Diego. So this included Facebook groups, school groups, university groups, Reddit, and various social media groups. And we plan for this, we're hoping that this survey will actually be extended beyond our project and hopefully put on the website in some form or another so that customers can directly go to this survey, and there will be like a consistent and direct form of feedback.
Thank you. We have one more question. Did you talk to the airlines?
Yes, so we actually talked to a customer service manager at the San Diego International Airport. And this individual also happens to be a sibling of someone who is deaf. And so she gave us a lot of amazing ideas that actually influenced our report, and a lot of really great information that influenced our research.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we will have Tiffany Wang from the Converge 2019 cohort introduce herself and give us some updates on Vibrant and how it's doing. I had the opportunity to actually work with her last summer as well. Yeah, Tiffany.
Thanks, Zahabia. My name is Tiffany, and I'm the co-founder of Vibrant, a color-changing clothing manufacturer. So a year ago, I'd come into the Converge incubator with just the idea of color-changing clothes. I didn't really understand the problem I would be solving. I didn't even know what technology we would use for this. And back then, we weren't even called Vibrant. Over the course of the 8 weeks I spent at the Converge incubator, I learned how to do customer interviews to truly understand all the waste generated in the fashion industry at all levels, created my first slide deck, which would be incredibly helpful in all the future competitions we apply to, and figured out the color-changing technology 2 nights before the showcase. So since then, we've expanded from a team of 3 to 13, spent countless of hours brainstorming and prototyping, and try to compete as much as possible. And recently, we've hand-knitted a color-changing sock and constructed our first dye dispenser prototype. We'll be launching our website with the color-changing demo this Saturday. So the Converge Incubator got me started on this journey. Through it, I met friends who were also pursuing their own ventures, and we've motivated each other along the way. I've met many mentors in the basement who helped me and my team refine our business strategy. And all these resources and support systems from the Converge Incubator and the basement programs helped my team go from sitting in the audience during last year's Triton Entrepreneur Night, marveling at all the wonderful business ideas proposed, to placing second in this year's. I know that 8 weeks isn't a lot to go through, but it may be the start of something longer. And to this year's Converge cohort, congrats on making it this far, and I hope that you're as excited as I am to see how far you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. It was so nice to hear from you. So now we will transition to the Converge participants who worked on their own venture ideas. And first off, we have Holy Mackerel Bait Co. by Jake.
All right, my name is Jeremiah Minnick, and I'm a marine biology PhD student here at Scripps Oceanography. And about a year ago, my parents came out to visit me and my wife to celebrate our wedding anniversaries, which are on the same day. And my dad and I had this idea, let's go sport fishing. Let's go out, try to catch a tuna, bring it back. We had a bunch of people gathered. It was going to be a great time. And, well, we didn't catch anything. We got skunked. And that was a real bummer. We spent a few $100s, and through that experience, I began to think about, well, why did that happen? And in talking to people and understanding the bait industry, if you want to catch a pelagic fish, you really need to use live bait. And the current bait, really the only bait available is sardines, which they'll last only for about 30 seconds on your hook before you have to get a new one. Not only that, in order to get bait, you may have to wait 20 minutes to 2 hours in line on the water, 4 or 5 in the morning, and you have to pay cash, right? Because that's the way it is. So you have to wait a long time, a lot of wasted time in the water. Now, not only that, from a sustainability standpoint, even though tuna fishing and sport fishing has been increasing in San Diego, the overall sardine fishery catch has actually been decreasing, especially in the past 5 years. lending the concern of the long-term sustainability of using wild-caught bait as a way to catch other fish. So in thinking about this, my primary goal is whether you're young, old, or a beginner or an expert, I want to help you catch more fish. And in order to do that, through customer discovery, I validated this hypothesis that basically the best bait is the bait that can swim far, swim fast, is durable, and has a long life. And mackerel is the perfect substitute for bait. Not only do I want to create a high performance bait, but I want to create a unique delivery system. So no more cash. Get out your smartphone, put it in order, and have the fish delivered to your house the night before, or even to your boat the night before. And for other type of anglers, even to a vending machine if you're going to on the piers. So how would you do this? So you may have heard of fish farming, which is primarily used to grow fish or shellfish for human consumption. Instead of that, I would actually use the same methodologies and techniques to grow fish on land-based systems and the spawning, reproduction, transfer those fish to a bay, San Diego Bay, grow out type facility, production cycle about 3 months, and then be able to take those fish and do delivery direct to consumer. So you might be thinking, okay, bait, like, who cares? Well, in San Diego alone, I've estimated that overall, the amount of money spent on bait is around $24 million annually. Now, my go-to-market strategy would be to first target kayakers, which is the lowest amount of in this total package. But these folks are tech enthusiasts. They spend a lot on their kayaks. They really know about fishing, and they really know what's important. After that, I would focus on personal boat owners, which that industry approaches about 1 million annually in San Diego, followed by pier fishers. And then lastly, sport fishing industry, which is somewhere around 14 million a year in bait. So who are my competitors? So the primary competitor is Everington Bait Brothers. They've been doing this for 75 years, and they really have a monopoly. There's really nobody in San Diego except them, and there's similar outfits in the rest of Southern California. Another competitor would be a flying fish company. And again, these are dead fish, and they're really more for the niche market of bluefin tuna. And then lastly, probably the biggest would be people who go out and catch their own bait, which can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 5 hours if you're on a kayak. My bait is superior because it's the performance of the fish, fast swimming, lives a long time, high survivability in getting out to the sea, and it competes cost-wise. And then along with the convenience of being able to get these fish delivered, no more waiting in line. So in terms of my next plans, really I have a few steps for technical. I need to develop a prototype for delivery and optimizing in the delivery system, followed by reproduction, and then determining factors for grow out. And I believe I can start selling in the spring with the next round of fishing season. For business, continue to do customer discovery, especially in these other segments, along with hitting the competition circuit to ultimately, try to seek more capital and also to apply for some NSF type grants. So who am I? I'm a graduate student. I've been in the aquaculture research for quite some time. I have 10 years experience as a scientist. I've presented in international conferences, over 20, and I've done research around the world on aquaculture from Australia to Africa. And not only that, I'm a fisherman myself. And as one of the big values of doing this is that I want to be able to give proceeds for part of the profits from this business to help support ongoing sustainable aquaculture and agriculture programs in sub-Saharan Africa, which I've done in the past. And along with being a scientist and having funding going forward, I actually have about 8 years customer service experience, 3 years fast food in high school, 3 years fine dining in one of the top yacht clubs in the world in college, and 2 years of Uber experience. So I know how to hustle, and I know how to understand what the customer wants to get them what they need. And with that, I can take questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake. So we have two questions from the audience. First one is, have you looked at state or federal regulations that may impact the farming aspect?
Yes, I begin discussing those things and talking. I've actually with a meeting with the port tomorrow. I've talked with also the university, and there are possibilities. There are people doing this for oysters currently, so I believe there is a path forward. But yes, I believe that will be a major hurdle to overcome.
Perfect. And the next question is, how close is this ready to go? What do you need to get started?
So before I say perhaps take money, I really want to validate some of the technical aspects of the fish rearing and just make sure that it is feasible. And that's something that I am beginning to work on now. This was really just testing the idea, but honestly, I have customers that are potential customers ready to go. They want fish and they want to test it out. So I think it's ready as soon as, yeah, I can get going on it.
Perfect. Thank you, Jake. So next we have What's Cookin' by Damon.
Hi, my name is Damon Curtis. I am a master's student here at UC San Diego, studying international affairs. And today I'm going to be presenting my platform, What's Cookin'. What's Cookin' is a platform that allows users to buy and sell homemade food on a local virtual market. The idea started right here at UC San Diego. Basically, a friend of mine informed me that she had been selling homemade Chinese food at Geyser Library during finals week. She would post online what she would be selling and when, and she made hundreds of dollars by basically selling to hungry students who were there studying overnight. So her and I started talking about how this idea could be expanded, how this could turn into an actual viable business model of people selling homemade food to their peers. Basically, after doing some thinking, I decided to look into creating an app platform that would allow users, kind of like Etsy, like Etsy, local version to sell homemade food. So our vision is to lower costs by reducing the overhead that restaurants carry, to empower small producers and keep the money local, and also to enable convenience by putting everything onto a single platform. So more on this single platform idea. Why is it more convenient? There's actually a surprising amount of homemade food selling that's going on right now. There's kind of a big black market scattered all over the place. And in my user research, I found that the people who are currently selling homemade food are having trouble finding more customers because it's just hard to market when you don't have a real platform. And what's more, individuals who would like to be buying homemade food that would be cheaper, more convenient, or more creative, have trouble finding sellers with which to perform this transaction because sellers are scattered across Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp groups, chat groups, Reddit, posting all different places, working in all these different groups. It's hard for sellers and buyers to find each other. So there's an opportunity here. Not only can we help sellers with their marketing and finding a greater user base of buyers, but we can also analyze that analytics and analyze the trends and collect data on what people are buying and when, what kind of consumers are more likely to buy what food. Because another thing that we found during your user research is that sellers, it's really important to them to be able to plan ahead and decide what to cook and be able to cook ahead of time and know how many things they're going to be selling to who, when, and where. This is all made more convenient in an app with a centralized platform. Finally, it's just convenient. Instead of having to search around different platforms, all that is going to be contained within a single platform. So a little bit about the process of how this idea came to be. The initial assumption was that it would just be individuals buying lunches or dinners the same way that they would be on Uber Eats or DoorDash. And basically, the user research showed that this wasn't the best option because individuals wanted food right then, whereas sellers wanted to be able to plan ahead and deliver in mass. They didn't have the same capacity to instantly prepare food and get it delivered right away. So we started looking at customer clusters. At first, this meant offices, trying to find offices who order food in mass for their employees, which are out there. And after interviewing some people involved with this type of setting, we found that offices were a little more worried about any sort of liability that would come from buying homemade food for their employees. So then we started looking at events, and this is where we really hit the nail on the head. Basically, users in youth soccer leagues, local high school speech and debate tournaments, they're already getting a lot of homemade food at their events in order to feed the kids, feed the parents. Basically, they use homemade food whenever possible, but sometimes it's not easy to find parents who are willing to make homemade food, so sometimes they do have to get catering from restaurants. But in the interviews that I did with some of these event planners, they said that they always prefer homemade food because it's always cheaper, and that they resort to restaurant food when there's just not enough parents to find. So this would be a perfect opportunity for them to find more people to make this homemade food. So this new pivot looks at customer clusters, which not only is perfect for the consumer, but from the seller's perspective, it really helps them by allowing them to find large numbers of buyers all in one place, because the delivery aspect is, of course, a major time consumer for the seller. If they're having to deliver to 3 different places versus being able to bring 10 meals to one single spot, it's much easier and it lends itself to planning ahead, because any events or workplace scenario is going to have, it's not going to be ordered right then within minutes. Obviously, there's competition coming from catering services, nearby restaurants, and meal delivery services. However, like I said before, in the status quo, homemade food tends to be cheaper. So that's already able to undercut some of the competition. And then there's also matters of scale. To open a restaurant, you have to have a certain scale to be viable, as in, like, let's say I wanted to open a vegan restaurant in a town that only had 20 vegan people. It wouldn't work to have a whole restaurant, but with a homemade food venture, it would be totally viable. Also working different times, different niche, basically it allows sellers to fill niches that restaurants couldn't. So our next steps are essentially that we need to do more customer discovery, really digging into this customer cluster model and figuring out what our business model is going to look like in terms of profitability and where the money exactly is going to be extracted from, whether it's going to be on the buyer side, seller side, whether it's going to be from selling data or from advertisements, pro accounts, all kinds of options. That needs to get nailed down. And finally, app design. Just we've got some wireframes and the early stages, but the actual app design needs to be fleshed out. So I want to thank you so much for your time and your support of student entrepreneurship. And I also want to thank my mentor for this project, Helder, a kind of unofficial mentor of mine, George. I don't know if you're here, George, but you've been a huge help to me. And of course, the Converge staff, Christine and Jacques. You're amazing. So I will now be taking any questions you may have.
Perfect, thank you. So you have numerous questions regarding food safety regulations. So if you could maybe speak a little bit on how it's impacting your concept, how it'll relate to like the health department and being inspected by that.
Yes, absolutely. So this is always the first concern we get. Basically, there's it's easy to find, it's cottage food laws in California. There's a recent change within the last year or so that allows homemade sellers to sell up to, I think it's 60 meals per month without a restaurant license. And this is basically, cottage food laws basically allow individual counties to set what their limits are going to be in any given, in the county or city level. They can regulate what kind of homemade food is going to be sold without a restaurant license. like I said, in the current business model, the events and stuff, people are already using homemade food. So there's already like a status quo comfortability with that. And when it comes down to bringing it to mass market, I like to liken it to Uber and Airbnb. When these ideas first came out, people thought it was crazy that you would be stepping into someone else's car or a stranger's home. But most of the world eats homemade food and street food. And yeah, so it's legal, and I think that it would be a quick cultural shift for people. Not to mention that there's already a comfortability in this niche market.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was really nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
Now we have the Gender Minorities in Engineering Initiative by Lindsay.
All right, hello everyone. See. All right, so my name is Lindsay Young. I am an upcoming 5th year here at UC San Diego studying mechanical engineering. And it's my pleasure to present to you my project with the help of the UC San Diego basement and the Blackstone Launchpad, the Gender Minorities in Engineering Initiative. So a little bit about me and what inspired this project. My first years at college were somewhat tumultuous. I found it hard to make friends within my major. I found it hard to find tutoring resources outside the classroom, and I was often spoken over in project groups and study groups. But most importantly, I had this imposter syndrome, or feeling like I didn't belong because I had entered a male-dominated space. And so after interviewing some of my peers, I found out that I was certainly not alone in these feelings and struggles. In fact, nearly every person I had interviewed had mentioned at one point wanting to drop out of engineering due to these struggles. So aside from the more internal struggles that gender minorities in engineering face, the demographics of engineering serve to reinforce this idea of the imposter syndrome or not belonging. So this graphic highlights the gender disparity in the field of engineering, where women make up just 7.9% of professional mechanical engineers. So furthermore, many still fail to recognize that cisgender women are not the only gender minority that face discrimination in their field. So transgender and non-binary folks are often overlooked in conversations about gender equality. So advocating for these groups specifically is at the core of the Gender Minorities in Engineering Initiative. So the vision of this platform is to help young engineers from underrepresented genders by providing an online platform to chat with mentors, share experiences, find jobs, and foster emotional growth. So the main purpose of this initiative is to create an online space that combats feelings of isolation that gender minorities can often feel in the world of engineering. So this initiative focuses specifically on emotional growth as opposed to only emphasizing professional development. So by sharing non-formal skills such as experiential learning, developing soft skills, we facilitate this emotional growth. So the solution to this problem is to create an online platform that connects mentors to mentees and to facilitate discussion by providing a safe space for users to share experiences and vulnerabilities. So participating in this initiative for users is more than just a resume booster. It's a safe, anonymous, and instant way to seek help. So this initiative is in direct response to complaints from my peers that other engineering organizations are either too exclusive or too intimidating to share sensitive experiences with. So sharing a problem on a virtual platform like this is much less scary than talking to a room of people at a chapter meeting. So you can see my rapid prototype here. This is my Facebook page that I started. It's the first iteration of this idea. So a more sophisticated website with better communication features is the ultimate goal. And so this Facebook page was just an easy and quick way to get a dialogue started with my users. So speaking of the users, I've broken down my users into two main categories, which I'm calling mentors and mentees. So some surprising things I found out about each category. So for the mentors, I found out, number one, the age was not so much of a factor as I thought it would be. I found that both young people and older people were both willing to step into the role of the mentor. And another thing I found was that the mentors can come from many different disciplines, not just the strict engineering majors. So I found out one of my greatest resources for the mentors were people who were skilled in emotional development in the humanities. And then for the mentees, I found out that they weren't so interested in the job sharing platform that I thought would be the biggest draw. but they just wanted a spaced event, meaning a place to safely and anonymously share frustrations and questions. And another interesting thing I found out through the interviews is that transgender interviewees were eager to share their experiences on a platform that shared their perspective. So a little bit about existing engineering organizations. We have SWE, which is an acronym for the Society of Women Engineers. So this has been around since the 50s, and their model could be modernized and improved to further promote inclusivity. And specifically by that, I mean they could include inclusive language that broadens their organization to more than just women, so including transgender and non-binary folks. And another thing I found out through interviewing my peers who have attended the Society of Women Engineers chapter meetings is that it felt to them a little bit more just like a resume booster as opposed to a community that fosters emotional development. And then we have Theta Tau, which is a professional engineering fraternity. A couple of things I heard feedback from my interviewees is that they exclude students below a certain GPA, and they exclude students not already formally in the engineering department. So roadmap and next steps. I'm gonna continue to facilitate discussion in the beta test Facebook group, which I showed y'all in a couple slides previous. I wanna continue building connections within the Jacobs School of Engineering here at UC San Diego. I'm trying to get staff on board for content contributions and just having them as a resource. I wanna continue gathering as many users as possible, specifically targeting those who could fit in the mentor and mentee positions. And of course, I will continue to iterate this platform based on the feedback that I get. So ultimately, this initiative is about starting a conversation. It's about creating a safe space for gender minorities to grow soft skills and seek personal advice. So by nurturing the next generation of minorities in engineering, we prevent dropouts, we increase diversity from new perspectives in the workplace, and we build a stronger community. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'd like to say a final thanks to our program director, Jacques and Christine, and of course to my mentor, Shane Moyes. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you, Lindsay. So we have a question. How did you expand the mentor and mentee group? Is it by word of mouth, through connection of friends and acquaintances, and what would future member recruitment look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So starting out, I of course utilized my network and the people I knew at the Jacobs School of Engineering. So I first started interviewing some of my peers, and then through them, I got connections through a couple people's parents who happened to be engineers themselves. And then at the end of my interviews, I would always leave the final question being, can you think of anyone who would fulfill this role, or can you think of anyone I should interview next? And then through that, it was kind of just like branches in a tree. I just kept getting more and more connections through them.
Perfect. And then one more question. So you've described the user and value to users, but who is the customer who will pay for the platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've thought about the future of what that could look like. I'd considered going the nonprofit route, and then actually through talking to an alumni within the basement community, she mentioned that the university actually funds her platform. She's doing something similar to me. So I think that that is ultimately the road that I'm going to go down.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Now we have Mice by Amr.
Hey everyone, my name is Amr. I'm a student entrepreneur at UC San Diego. I'm also a fourth-year computer science student. I've been working on my product called Mice, using big data to minimize e-return return. So once I had an event in 3 days, and I personally love shopping online, and as I was scrolling online, I found this really nice shirt at this one brand. But the thing is, as we all know, sometimes you're a different size for specific brands, where I'm a medium for Zara, but I'm a large for Uniqlo, and a medium again for Gap. So I wasn't too sure what size I should get. So I ordered a medium and a large, knowing that I could return the size that didn't fit. They arrived, I tried the medium, it fit me perfectly, but the large was too big, so I had to return it. Then I thought to myself, would there be an easier way for me to pick the proper size from the first time? And not having to return that and pick the proper size and just continue on with my day. Well, first let's talk about the problem market opportunity. As I said, I personally love shopping online, but apparently I'm not the only one, where there's $4.2 trillion that will be done in sales by the end of this year in e-commerce sales. But the thing is, That number was before COVID. So with COVID, that number will only increase higher and higher for the next couple of years. And the thing is, 30% of all products ordered online are actually returned. Now comparing that to on-site, where it's only 9% of those products are actually returned. And 60 to 80% of those 30% that's being returned is actually due to sizing. Now the reason why it's from 60 to 80%, because for example, returns of shoes is a lot different than returning of dresses and shirts and other clothing. But what about COVID? Well, due to COVID, Zara will be closing 1,200 stores, and for the next 2 years, they'll mainly focus on digital growth. So what's the solution with Mize? Well, number one, we're data-driven. We're gathering data is what's gonna power us. Where first of all, you create an account. You put your email and your password, and you put 3 to 4 shirts that you currently have that fit you perfectly. This way, we will know what sizes you prefer and what certain styles do you like as well. From then on, you have to download a plugin. Now, the plugin is a basic Google Chrome extension plugin where you download it and Mize will be able to learn from your purchases. Now, like I said earlier, you're already inputting shirts and products that you have. But the thing is, with the plugin, we'll be able to gather more and more information. And plus, you wouldn't have to go through the tedious time of you having to input every single product that you purchase. The plugin will be able to read the price that you bought it at, the certain fit that you're purchasing, whether it's a loose or a tight fit, and also the certain fabrics that they're using. Second part of the cycle is we'll optimize our algorithm. Like I said, we're gathering a lot of data. And with a lot of data, our machine learning algorithm will only improve better and better. Now think about it like this. You have a friend that is roughly the same size as you, and same style and everything. You would ask if the person has a really nice shirt from their closet, you ask them what size he ordered. This way you'd get that proper size. But the machine learning algorithm would be the same thing, but for millions and millions of users. After we collected that data and after we have that information from you, after you downloaded the plugin, then we'll be able to recommend your Mize. This way, let's say Paul, is due to quarantine, decides to start picking up running. So he's shopping at Nike for a running shirt, and it's his first time picking a running shirt. So he would automatically pick large, as Mize would recommend him the proper size, and not have to worry about returns. To finish the cycle, we'd want to market to new users to gather more data, and the cycle continues. But the thing is now, how do we generate money? Well, first of all, we have to explain what's a Mize user and a Mize customer. Now, the Mize user is our everyday online shopper, that's me and you, and the Mize customer is those online retailers. That's Zara, H&M, Tilly's, and even the smaller brands, because that's a lot of data that will be lost if we don't collaborate with them. And at the same time, there are people that are trying to get into the online industry as well. Going back to that cycle that I had previously, the way we make money is by partnering up with our customers. So after we optimize our algorithm and after we've collected a lot of data from users that were shopping at that product, knowing which product do they like, which products fits them better, and so on, we'll be able to partner up with those companies with that information. 2 ways of bringing in revenue. Number one is targeted recommendations, where it would be a feature as to the plugin where Paul ordered a nice shirt. But the thing is, there's other products that other people also ordered, according to our database, that would fit perfectly with that shirt, whether it's shorts, socks, or any other products. And we'd make money by a commission fee for every purchase. And then secondly would be an embedded software service. So this way we'd be able to create a plugin. Instead of it being just a plugin, it would be just embedded into the software itself. Where here, it's my first time shopping at Uniqlo, and right there will be usually like the sizes small, medium, and large. Instead, I just click on my Mize and I continue. So what's our timeline? Well, we're actually launching our Create account by the end of August in the next week or so. So please connect with me and you'll be updated with that. And then we launch our plugin by the end of December. And hopefully by the beginning of January or by end of January, we'll be able to demo with small companies. We hope to maximize your online shopping experience with Mize. This is our wonderful team. And we'd like to thank Blackstone Launchpad and UC San Diego Basement, and also my mentor, Cassie. We're open to questions.
Perfect, thank you. I'll wait a moment if there's any questions. Okay, so what updates has Mize made since participating in the Triton Entrepreneur Night compared to in the competition?
Mm-hmm. So one thing that we discovered a lot of things actually. a lot of things, we've done a lot of customer interviews and user interviews where we try to figure out what those customers and users would be interested in. So for example, we've noticed that a lot of times the products that we're mainly concerned about wasn't just shirts. That's why the plugin will be able to detect other than just those shirts. And at the same time, the user interface and the user experience of just you inputting shirt is something that not a lot of people would enjoy. So that's why our mainly focus now is to our plugin, which would be a lot better for us.
Perfect, thank you. And one more question, do you have any strategic partners yet?
Not yet, but right now we're just mainly trying to get the user base, and then we'll be able to reach out to a few partners.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So now we have book clips with Arslan.
Well, I'm just looking to share my screen. Thanks, Ahabia. So hello everyone, my name is Arslan Rafiq. I am a fourth year international business major at UCSD, and the starter project that I have been working on is book clips. Have you ever been in a situation where you needed a haircut and couldn't find the right person for the right time? Introducing book clips. Getting ready for any occasion or just simply for your self-satisfaction should always come as a convenience, and through book clips, we can have you seated in no time. So what is book clips? It is an all-in-one hair professional service app and website. We're creating an innovative platform for hair professionals to work as they please. We take care of their promotions, bookings, and transactions, as well as provide an innovative platform for clients to find the right hair professional for them. Our vision is to be the leading provider for independent, in-house, mobile, and remote hair professionals in the Los Angeles area. So what specific problem or need are we addressing? Currently, there's a lack of transparency, efficiency, and trust in the hair professional and barber industry. This disconnect between hair professionals and clients has created an inefficient booking system, hair service anxiety, and inconsistent business with unwarranted downtime. Book Clips recognizes that the hair professional industry generates billions of dollars per year. However, these problems here are preventing professionals from gaining recognition, saving time, and overall just being financially compensated in their profession. At the same time, these problems also prevent customers from confidently receiving the hair professional service that they desire. An interesting fact is that the hair industry generates close to $44 billion in revenue each year and has even increased in the past few months despite the quarantine. Also, with more than 90,000 registered hair professionals, the employment rate for these folks is going up at an annual rate of 16%. This opportunity here has shown us that two primary folks need our help: hair professionals and clients. First off, hair professionals need an effective way to reach out to customers, develop their personal brand, and work as they please. Currently, 88% of these hair professionals are independent contractors renting out a chair at a shop, working for a shop owner under commission, or owning their own small hair professional business. With that being said, it can be difficult for them to find clients, book accordingly, and make money. Now, on the other hand, for clients, bad haircuts and bad services are a real problem. Clients frequently suffer from having to deal with the stress of trusting a hair professional, needing a last-minute haircut, or receiving poor service. As an industry that continues to grow, it's necessary to try and solve these real-time problems with authentic, effective, and transparent solutions. This is a closer look at our app now. Once again, our goal is to be the leading provider for independent, in-house, mobile, and remote hair professionals. We're targeting all hair professionals from those just starting their career to the veterans of this industry. We offer an improved connection between the hair professional and client before the service even begins. Our app looks to have three main features. On the left-hand side, we have our marketing platform that showcases the hair professionals' profiles, which include biographies, schedules, content, and some work examples of theirs. Now in the middle, we have the location feature, which will give clients the ability to find the hairstyles they desire and match with the right hair professional within a 1 to 25 mile radius of their location. And then on our right-hand side, we have the booking and transaction feature that will be a user-friendly appointment system with calendar notifications included. Other features we're still working on include dynamic pricing that will be based on demand and time of day, targeted advertisements that will be used to increase profile visibility, and ratings and reviews which will be visible on the hair professionals' profiles. This brings me now to our customer discovery. As stated before, our app targets two types of people here: hair professionals and clients. In the past few weeks, I've interviewed both groups, and I've discovered that hair professionals I spoke with can go hours throughout their day waiting for clients or struggling to have the outreach they would like. Under this quarantine, things have been even worse for some of them. It is clear that without a good way of communicating, these hair professionals have been unable to reach out to people, work remotely, and most of all, have a good system to book clients. Now, on the client perspective, most people I interviewed talked about the importance of trusting their hair professional and knowing that they can get the job done. The fear of a bad haircut has caused some of them to suffer from anxiety at every service, or worse yet, not want to be seen in public. This brings me to the business model. As an LA native, I'm actively involved in the urban community and know many family members and friends who are part of this industry. I look to establish book clips here at home in the greater Los Angeles area. And with more than 18,000 registered hair professionals in just this area, the demand for hair services is growing. This makes LA an ideal location to start, and if proven successful, scale throughout California. And also, we look to charge hair professionals on a percentage basis of every transaction that goes through our app. These are some of our direct and indirect competitors. Our competition will be corporate hair salons or current marketing platforms for hair professionals. Things like Sports Clips, Supercuts, and Great Clips are some of the most popular brick and mortar hair salons in LA. However, Book Clips looks to service the other 88% of hair pros who work remotely, independently, or for small businesses. Now, on the other hand, Yelp and Booksy are marketing platforms that promote the overall hair salon organization. Book Clips is different in the sense that we're all for the hair professional and not the big business. This brings me now to our roadmap for the next couple of months. I have 3 main objectives here. I first want to conduct customer interviews to further understand the needs of the hair professionals and focus our design features on the stuff that they need the most. And the second is review the business model and pivot where needed. And finally, seek mentorship and grow the team to make this idea come to life. This is more than just a haircut. It's about showcasing people, supporting self-care, and most of all, making meaningful relationships. Look your best and feel your best with Book Clips. That concludes my presentation. I want to thank everyone that was a part of this process, and I will now open up the floor for questions.
Thank you, Arslan. So we have a question. What inspired this idea and how would this impact you personally?
So earlier in January, this idea, me and another friend were talking about this for quite some time because he's a barber, but hair has always been very important to me as like a young kid. And my family, my mom didn't actually have money to always go cut my hair. So she would take me with one of her friends, and from there, like, I would always get my haircut like really, really short, and I would always cry and stuff because I always wanted to have like the hairstyles that I wanted. So once I started working at like the age of 8, I started saving up my money, and every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I would go cut my own hair and I would put it however I wanted. But overall, like, I know a lot of folks that like are affected by this industry too. And I know that if there could be a viable solution for them to make a great living out of this, that everyone benefits. And I think, I don't know, like, I've thought about different reasons. And like 4 years ago, I had a friend actually, when I was in the hospital because my appendix burst, and I was there for like 2 months because it was it was complicated. But I had a friend cut my hair, and I realized that, like, barbers and hairstylists have an opportunity to make great change in the world and like make people feel better. And I feel that through a platform like this, they can go out and do social good, cut hair at hospitals, foster homes, retirement homes, things like that. And I think in order to make social good, first we have to run it in a for-profit manner. And I think that's kind of what inspired this, a mixture of different components from like personal to like friends and families to an overall ambition to do social good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Triton Dash by Ariel.
Hi everyone, my name is Ariel Cohen. I'm a rising third-year global health student at UCSD, and I'll be presenting my startup, Triton Dash. Now, as a UCSD freshman, I remember the first time walking around campus and just me thinking to myself how big this campus actually was. I lived in Revelle, so I would take long walks home regularly, given I went to Price Center often. The total commute between Revelle and Price Center is at most 30 minutes, which served as a major inconvenience for me during the times I was busy with homework or I had a narrow time gap between classes. I then thought to myself, What if there was a campus application that would make acquiring my personal necessities on campus easier to do so? UCSC's 2,000-acre campus isn't set up so strategically, as it lacks uniformity, it's tough to navigate, and its signage isn't so efficient. Students even have to skateboard or bike to their desired locations. I guess the only pro of this campus layout is that no student can ever skip leg day. UCSC's unfavorable layout can make it especially hard for those that are located in inconvenient areas, such as the Old Six College. And as UCSC is expanding its campus size, it's just going to get harder for students. My proposition is an inter-campus delivery system. I call it Try and Dash. Try and Dash will work like other applications such as DoorDash, except it would only cater to the UCSC domain. Let's give the instance of a busy researcher working at Scripps. She needs to transfer her documents, however, she doesn't have enough time to go find parking near the area, and the current mailing system put into place can't take her request at the moment. The woman then uses Try and Dash to have her document transported for her. Try and Dash functions starting with the customer. The customer would be able to send a personal request on the application to which the first individual to accept the request would cater to his or her needs. The customer would first have to Venmo or PayPal the Try and Dasher, the one in delivering, in order for the delivery to be carried out. The delivery fee will be based on a 25-cent per minute rate in addition to the optional tip. The percentage I would take on the delivery fee is not yet set in stone, but I plan to take 10%. Since there's already an existing movement on campus of students walking to a class or a food spot, it would serve Try and Dash perfectly, as students can make a delivery while walking to their already desired location. The market size for my application will only be within UC San Diego. As of 2019, there were about 40,000 UCSC students, 3,000 total faculty members, and an estimated 1,500 staff members. Due to there being 50 spots to eat or shop at UCSD, Try and Dash would cater our campus greatly. Furthermore, if my application gains enough traction, I plan to expand to UCSC Extension and the medical school campus in order to reach the greater UCSC population. And if successful enough in the near future, I plan to extend my application to other college campuses. Now, after speaking with a diverse pool of interviewees, either studying or working at UCSD, I've come to the conclusion on who my target customers were. When exam season approaches, students are extremely occupied with their own activities, making it hard for them to make quick food runs, especially due to UCSD's notorious parking. Furthermore, after speaking with faculty members at UCSD, I learned just how beneficial it would be for their documents to be transported to and from their location. Therefore, I want to ensure these individuals are accommodated, especially given how UCSD's mailing system can be slow at times and how frustrating parking can be. In addition, those that are taking difficult classes might not have the time to work full-time jobs. Because this application works on your own time, employees can dedicate even 30 minutes out of the day to make a quick delivery and even help pay for their college costs. Another one of my target customers are those that are physically or visually impaired, as they can face great difficulty given our campus's great size. Try and Dash can fix that as their needs can be catered right to their personal location. And lastly, COVID-19 will prevent many students from walking outside as a new fear of crowds may arise. Try and Dash can also fix that as their needs can be catered right to their self-isolating location. I'm looking to monetize this business opportunity through ad revenues, data monetization, and gamification marketing. In addition, I plan to take a certain percentage from the delivery fee, which is as of now 10%. Collaborating with popular UCSC food spots will in effect cause an unprecedented growth as buying from their businesses will become easier to do so. All in all, with this inter-campus delivery system on our campus, UC San Diego's name in entrepreneurship will be greatly recognized. Now, I'm sure we all know of these delivery applications such as DoorDash and Uber Eats. The key difference I wanted to focus on is delivery time. Logically speaking, the customer would want their food to come as quickly as possible. My application would beat my competitors in this facet, as Try and Dash workers would already be near the customer's desired place of buying, since Try and Dash only caters to UCSC businesses and its respective population. A major benefit out of Try and Dash as well is its greater personalized deliveries. For example, if I were to order a meal while being on the 7th floor of Geisel, my order would be delivered right to my Geisel location rather than a DoorDash order that would be delivered at closest Geisel loop. As far as my next steps in the journey for Try and Dash, I am now in search of an application developer and I'm yet to create my minimum viable product. In terms of customer discovery, I plan to call more UCSC businesses to make sure they're on board. Lastly, I'm yet to figure out exactly how I will charge the customers and how much of the percentage I plan to take. After I complete these tasks, I'll be that much closer in establishing this application by hopefully next year. Now, I'd like to thank my program directors, Jacques and Christine, as well as my mentor, Rachel Costello, for guiding me through this journey. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you guys all enjoyed.
Thank you. I'll wait a moment for any questions. Okay. So what advantages does your competition have over you?
So obviously, that's a great question. I personally use DoorDash myself. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, they're all very well-respected companies, hundreds of more employees, and they're just again more respected. However, I don't really focus on that because I know as a customer, the delivery, like the time of delivery is the most important, at least for me, because obviously you want your food to come as quickly as possible. Therefore, even though they have their major benefits, such as, again, well-respected companies, they're worth a lot of money, respect many employees. I look at Try and Dash as outweighing them in terms of delivery, which will serve to my advantage.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next, we have Project Fruition.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerian Lawrence, and I'm here to present Project Fruition for the Converge Incubator Program. So a little about me, I'm a rising third-year student in nanoengineering and bioengineering. I came to UCSD knowing that I wanted to study the interactions between biology and engineering. But as a first-generation college student, I know that's not the same case for everyone. I know that a lot of students are going through college and still trying to figure out their path and don't really know exactly what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And even though it's a common acceptable thing to do throughout college, it's not always productive. So I wanted to know if there's a way that students can go throughout college and have various ideas of different career paths that they might be interested in before entering. So I looked deeper into the problem and saw that many first-generation college students weren't exposed to as many career paths as their peers. For me, for example, my parents only showed me how to be a doctor or a lawyer. A lot of us aren't shown how to be an entrepreneur, a data scientist, or a nanoengineer. So Project Fruition hopes to solve this problem by breaking down those barriers and providing a personalized career technical education program. We want to focus on STEM fields primarily. So we hope to solve this by having quality education, adhering to different learning styles, and breaking down those cultural barriers. We understand that quality education is a factor in solving most of the world's problems. So we want to ensure that all students have an equitable and quality education with our platform. We also understand that not all students learn the same. Some students might learn visually, auditory, or kinesthetically. So we hope to alter our platform to their liking. And highly connected with being a first-generation college student is the cultural barriers present. So we hope to identify and acknowledge those through our platform. So for the market and customer discovery. So I was unable to conduct the necessary interviews for this section, but in the future, I hope to interview individuals from these three groups because I believe that they would benefit the most from our platform. So I hope to interview teachers from schools with diverse student populations and students from 6th to 12th grade who come from first-generation families. I want to find out what exact problems they're having and how we can help them with their college and career readiness. So it's also important to identify the target customers and users. The customers would be schools, teachers, and parents through academic and family plans, and the target users would be the students. They would be the main people utilizing the platform. But I was, however, able to get a prototype and an app design of what I hope the platform would look like, and I'm going to take you through it. So here we have Nathan, and Nathan's a rising freshman in high school, and he's trying to figure out what future career paths he might be interested in. So Nathan took our career strengths insight, and we were able to see that Nathan might be interested in bioengineering, computer science, or data science. He also took our learning styles insight, so we're able to see how he learns and alter the platform to his liking. Nathan also took our cultural background insight, so we hope to gather culturally relevant details to show him how these pathways can affect those around him. So here's an example of Nathan's bioengineering pathway. As you can see through the learning styles insight, we're able to see that Nathan is a audio and visual learner. So we're able to use videos and podcasts to make sure he's more interested and engaged in his career pathways. And currently, Nathan's in the introductory section of his bioengineering pathway. And if he likes it and he finishes it, maybe he comes to UCSD. Project Fruition is in a very unique space. So for the competition, I didn't really have that many organizations to go about, but I was able to identify two that had similar markets, and that's Coursera and edX. So these organizations have done a great job in the past decade in providing quality education, but they haven't done so much in providing equity-centered education for diverse populations or adhering to different learning styles, which Project Fruition hopes to do. These organizations are also centered on audiences around 18 to 55 years old, and these individuals already have an idea of what they want to do and the courses they want to accomplish, while Project Fruition centers around early career development. So our audience is around 11 to 18-year-olds. So for the roadmap and next steps, I definitely plan on conducting more research. I'm actually planning to do a research project with CREATE, which is the equity-centered education department at UCSD, to fully flesh out that customer discovery section and figure out what problems first-generation college students are having. I also plan on doing more outreach, so connecting with students and potential partners to help Project Fruition grow. I'd like to thank these organizations for all the help and support. And here's my email and LinkedIn if you want to connect with me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll give a second for any questions. Panel. Okay. What motivates you to pursue this idea?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say my high school experience, like being able to go through such a great high school where I had those career technical education programs that showed me different pathways and career paths I might be interested in. And when I came to college and realized that not all students had that, I wanted to basically provide a platform that did something similar that allowed students to be more prepared for college and their future.
Thank you so much, Valerian. Really appreciate it. Now we have Coverly by Amr.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be presenting to you today our work on developing a wearable device capable of continuously and remotely monitoring vital signs associated with COVID. Unfortunately, this pandemic has taken a huge toll on our lives. It has resulted in over 5 million infections within the US and over 100,000 deaths. We've also seen the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. However, we've seen that other countries have been able to mitigate the side effects. We attribute this to three main reasons. Unfortunately, we have some inefficiencies in existing systems, such as the inability to continuously monitor, the fact that the disease is transmitted rapidly, and the challenge with early detection of infection, which causes people to walk around and infect others. Here, we can see the problem. In a nursing facility, a group of elderly ladies were infected with COVID. A group of them were diagnosed by physicians and sent to the ICU, while others were determined to be mild cases and were sent back to the nursing facility. Those with the mild cases had eventually developed into severe symptoms, and this nursing facility ended up with 18 dead elderly patients. But that's not it. It gets even worse. Unfortunately, the US is behind many countries in tests conducted for coronavirus. In order to combat this, we developed a thin, stretchable, and flexible wearable device that is simply worn on the body. It does not interfere with your day-to-day activities and can continuously monitor the 5 major vital signs associated with COVID. You simply have to stick the patch onto your skin, and it continuously sends alerts on your physiological health to your physician. You don't have to worry about anything else. It's also the size of a coin. So how do we accomplish this? We exploit a novel approach developed here at UCSD by Professor Sheng Xu in the Nanoengineering Department. We use a multi-layered three-dimensional framework, which enables us to build wearable devices that integrate multiple sensors on several layers. These layers communicate with each other using vertical interconnect accesses. We also use off-the-shelf components to simplify the fabrication process and reduce our costs. This yields several benefits. First of all, the ability to monitor multiple vital signs enables physicians to make better clinical diagnosis using a wider array of data. By continuously and remotely monitoring patients, we're recording data throughout the entire day, not just when they're at the hospital. But this also reduces stress on healthcare systems, which are already operating at their maximum capacity. By mass screening, we could also record a large number of the population. And finally, due to this simple fabrication strategy, our device is affordable and highly accessible. In order to make this possible, our team consists of Mrs. Xu Sheng, who has decades of experience in managing fabrication facilities and has led many translational research efforts, Professor Sheng Xu, an assistant professor at the Nanoengineering Department and an MIT Under 35 innovator, as well as myself. The severity of this issue can be conveyed by the size of the market. The wearable market is expected to reach a valuation of $27.2 billion within the next 3 years. Within the past 7 months alone, the medical device market for monitoring symptoms of COVID-19 has reached a valuation of $5.2 billion. Moreover, in the US, there is more than 40 million people above the age of 65, of which 50% are expected to experience severe symptoms of COVID among those infected. We have been fortunate to learn from the shortcomings of some of our competitors. Omron, which holds the highest market share for blood pressure monitors, builds a bulky device that does continuously monitor, but is not too portable and is expensive. Oura Ring is simpler, records a couple of vital signs, but fails to monitor blood pressure, and physicians have complained from its low accuracy. Finally, Welch Allyn develops medical devices targeting the healthcare sector, which tend to be bulky and are only suitable for discrete monitoring. Through the support of UCSD and our great mentors, we have been able to accomplish some great things so far. We have been selected as finalists at the Nature Spinoff competition. We came in first place at the Institute of Global Entrepreneurs MedTech Pitch competition, participated in 2 NSF I-Corps programs, and were selected as one of the top 10 out of 500 startups by the National Academy of Engineers. We've completed the research and development phase and are currently conducting customer discovery by having interviews with physicians, patients, administrators, and insurance companies to further enhance our understanding of the needs of the healthcare sector. That will then be followed by prototype development, clinical trials for validation, as well as developing the backend infrastructure for machine learning algorithms. And finally, we will go through the FDA emergency use authorization to expedite our process of introducing the device to the market. Finally, we would not have been able to reach this point without the great support of UCSD, the Basement, the Converge program, the Launchpad, as well as our amazing mentor, Dr. Leibowitz, who spent several hours with us each week, our great mentor, Dr. Murray Riker, as well as George Eiskamp, Greg Horowitz, and every other member of the Converge program. Thank you so much, and feel free to reach out to us at any time.
Thank you so much. So we have a question from the audience. Is there research that demonstrates value of the information provided by the sensors to COVID detection? Like how early in an infection can it be detected by the sensors?
So we personally haven't published anything on that, but there is significant research on the correlation between the vital signs we do monitor and infection with COVID.
And we have one other question. How do you plan to secure data?
How do you plan? We currently have already started placing significant emphasis on data security, and we're starting to build a team of experts in software engineering to ensure strong encryption and protection of data. That's a top priority of ours, of course. And we have already started exploring ways of achieving HIPAA compliance.
Perfect. Thank you so much for presenting.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So those were all the teams. Thank you for all the teams for presenting. It was really inspiring to hear all the work that you've accomplished the past 8 weeks. I'd like to also thank all of our partners and sponsors for making this all happen, as well as to all of our mentors and guest speakers for providing all the support throughout the week. the weeks. We couldn't have done it without you all, as well as our basement executive board and supporters for their leadership and support throughout all of this process. And congratulations to the Converge 2020 cohort for finally completing the virtual program of 2020. Thank you for the audience for tuning in, and please, you can reach out to any of the teams you'd like to connect with by going to www.ucsdbasement.com, and the video will be available on Facebook at UCSD Basement. So make sure to stay connected, and we'll definitely see you next year as well. Thank you all.